How we reach our audiences is critically important in this time and determines how well we can do our work. And to enlighten us, we want to welcome Jackie Chicarellis. Jackie is recognized as one of the 50 most influential women in content marketing, and she serves as Director of Digital Strategy for Quest Digital. She previously contributed her talents at the Great Lakes Science Center and as Senior Digital Director for Advance Ohio. She is truly a media entrepreneur. She was a leader in development of the website Cleveland Moms Like Me, the founder of a nationally syndicated talk radio program and podcast, Family Matters Radio, an on-air contributor to NBC TV, a founder of the Online Platforms Institute, and she hosts a weekly podcast, Platform FM. Truly an entrepreneur in so many aspects of how we communicate with people. And she still finds time to give back to our community through volunteer service at the Hunger Network of Greater Cleveland. Jackie, we're pleased that you could join us this afternoon and look forward to your words.
Great to be here. Thank you, Mary Ann. Jody, are you going to get the screen up? Fantastic. Thank you all. I'm excited to be here with you today. And before we get started, I'm going to briefly introduce to you what Quest Digital is. So you may know us by our parent company, Great Lakes Publishing, and most likely know our consumer-facing platforms, including Cleveland Magazine, but this may be the first time you've heard of Quest Digital. As publishers, we're proud to be on a team that has been bringing you amazing stories for decades. Quest Digital is a marketing agency dedicated to helping organizations stay relevant in an ever-growing digitally focused world. And we do this based on the evaluation of your customer's experience with your brand, how we can support you in filling those gaps. We have a full-time in-house developer staff that builds your foundation on your website. We explore how your audience is engaging with your brand and tap our custom team to create content that helps you get discovered. We then look at how we can amplify your message to get your potential customers to know, like, and trust you. So that's enough about us. Let's talk about you. And I want to start with an assignment. Please take out a quick blank sheet of paper, and on that paper, write down the name of someone you trust. Give you a second here. Just go ahead and write down that person's name. Fold it up, put it away, and we'll come back to that later. Now, our focus today is going to be on content. And you can change the slide. You may be new to content marketing, or your business may be pivoting to content in 2020 world, but there's good reason for that. According to the Content Marketing Institute, the pandemic's impact on marketing has been dramatic thus far, including the acceleration of mistrust and the usefulness of social media, increasing importance of first-party data in a heightened environment of transparency, evolution of paid media and disappearance of sponsorships for physical events, and new challenges, technologies, and processes of operating in a work-from-home environment. Today's customer journey is never a 1 or 2 channel trip, and we know that over 90% of people do some sort of online research before making a purchase. Knowing what happened before and after the Google search is really key to understanding your customers. And what is common string in every single journey? Well, it's content. Now, over 24 years ago, Microsoft's Bill Gates wrote an essay with this now infamous headline titled simply, "Content is King." Bill's essay asserted that just like with broadcast and radio technology before it, money that would be made on the internet would not be made in the manufacturing of hardware, but instead in the creation of content. Nearly everything he said has held up. Instead of a few publications and networks and stations creating the content, everyone is a content creator now. And more than that, everything is content. And since everything is content, good content is everything. And quarantine lifestyle changes has increased content consumption tenfold. Recent data from McKinsey shows that the consumer and the business digital adaptation has vaulted 5 years forward in just about 8 weeks. Nearly overnight, the digital content landscape has undergone an evolutionary leap. Now more than ever, we need to deepen our connection with our audience and future customers, and our content is going to help us on this journey. So let's begin with the question. Do we need to adopt our content marketing? Well, I can't answer that question for you, but I can tell you that if you've not changed how, where, when, and what you communicate with your potential visitors, customers, or audience since March of 2020, you probably have some work to do. And I hope by the end of the Zoom call, I've given you at least 1 or 2 ideas on how to do that. So let's get started. And the first step, I want you to pretend for a moment that you're not your organization or your business that you represent. Take your marketing hat off for just a minute, and big or small, cash-strapped, budget or not, this is the first step. Put yourself in the shoes of your audience. Begin with empathy. And let's use this simple activity to recognize the brand and empathize with the audience. Draw a Venn diagram, and in one circle, list the problems of your audience and industry you are grappling with. In the other circle, list all the areas your brand's expertise and attributes are. In the space where the 2 circles collide or interlocked, identify 2 or 3 themes where your audience and brand interests intersect. Now, this may take you time, and it's not going to happen overnight. You may need to get more people on board to give their opinion, but if you begin here, you're well on your way to creating a content marketing strategy. It's really that simple. Now, let's look at one of my favorite examples, the Science Museum in California, the Exploratorium. Now, even though they're closed, they strategically use their digital footprint to support their audience. This includes Google My Business landscape and their Google paid ads. If we apply that empathy Venn diagram, we can easily see the sweet spot between the audience of parents and educators that are dealing with the bored children at home and the parents that may want to find more than just fun activities, but entertainment that has educational value. The educators need to find instructional activities that their students can do at home and not in the classroom. The Exploratorium excels at edutainment of science concepts, and they can provide this fun, accessible content on their website. Now, the results is a comprehensive content platform geared toward parents and distinct but just as robust second platform focused on educators. And I also love that they weave the donation opportunity through their entire customer path. From search to social and on their own properties, they remind the potential donor how important they are to reopening. Now, to continue on the empathy path, we need to listen to our audience to discover more ways that we can help them and engage with them. We just simply can't ignore bad reviews or not engage in reputation management. In fact, 86% of people will hesitate to purchase from a business that has negative online reviews. And 91% of 18 to 34-year-old consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. In times like these, everywhere you exist is digital and a potential customer service channel. You simply must expand your efforts to find and engage and answer customers everywhere online. Rather than fearing these comments, learn to embrace them. Online review and comments are just an opportunity for improving your content and answer questions that 99% of your customers are too shy to post about. As my friend Jay Baer, author of Hug Your Haters, says, criticism is the laboratory for improvement. Now, number 3, context is everything. Remember that Venn diagram? Well, I'm going to add the 3rd circle called context. Taken without context, content can take on different meanings. Be sure that you're speaking the language that you want your audience to act on. Take the time to ground your content with the right message and deliver that content in the right moment. Next slide. Social distancing has really changed our presentations and reality about a great many things. And it's really time to take our editor's red pen to the visual content you use on your social media channels. Ask yourself, is this appropriate today? I really love the differences in Schwinn Bicycle spotlights their products. Now these posts are just a few weeks apart, but you can see how they've adapted their visuals for a coronavirus world. Number 4, use content to inspire more. You know, when people are stuck at home due to restrictions or fear, you need to lengthen your normal sales funnel by investing in content that inspires. And a great example from Alamo Rental Car Company is this, that not many people are using car rentals for their vacations right now, but that really didn't stop them from finding content connections with their audience. I really love how they created a staycation hub called the Scenic Route, and this resource is packed with ideas. Now, the immersive digital experiences uses Google Earth. It's a free tool to keep the wonder of travel alive for Alamo's audience when travel is limited. And Alamo created one specifically for the Grand Canyon. Another organization that leverages its content platforms off their website and on social platforms is the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Now they recognize that soothing content was something they could contribute, and they doubled down. From live feeds on their YouTube like this jelly cam to guided meditation on Instagram. All right, number 5, update your social media bios. Now, your social profiles is a great place to feature your reopening activities. Use your highlights on Instagram, like the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo did, to talk about those reopening activities. And consider going a step further to help your guests find information on your website about your reopening with one click, like the Field Museum in Chicago. With one click, the user is taken directly to the website page, packed with information to help the visitor plan their visit. Now, this is content that your customer needs, and you must make it easy for them to find. Remember, this is about serving the audience with useful and helpful information. Use your own channels to make that connection better. Think kind of like a magazine. So I've given you a lot to think about, and hopefully a few ideas and resources to remember. You know, this is a challenging time for all of us. We can rise to the occasion and serve our audience and our customers. And in the end, we're going to be better for this than we were a year ago. So remember that piece of paper I told you to write down the name of someone you trust? Take a look at that name. Think about what you would tell him or her about your business, your attraction, your destination, your organization. What do you want them to know? What would you try to tell them? I'm sure you wouldn't think about selling them, but would you look at maybe educating them, inspiring them? Use your content marketing wisely and become the trusted resource for your audience and for your customers. And that is it for me.
Thank you, Jackie, so much. And thanks for being a good sport with my random advancing of slides, a little bit off pace.
Awesome.
So we're going to open up now for some questions from everyone. And I had one that was submitted to me off the bat with specifically talking about creating content breaking through the noise. So it's, how can you create content to break through the noise since everyone's creating content right now? And a second part of that is, do you have an example of something you've seen that's broken through?
Yeah, so again, it's really, I think when you look at the noise as a mass type of noise, like everybody's talking, well, are you focusing on your customers and who's talking to your customers or your audience, and how can you help them? I think that again is such an important step, because you can't be everything to every person today. That just no longer exists. That mass communication world is pretty much over, except for big brands with big budgets, right? So you have to look at how you can specifically serve your audience. What questions are they asking? What are they grappling with? And that helps you make sure that you're shaping those content to focus in on that. And they're going to find you as that resource because of that. And you asked me for a good example. Okay, sorry about that. So I think, again, the Exploratorium is a great example of that. I use it often when I talk with our clients and say, you know, they're not trying to be everything to everybody. They know what their sweet spot is and how they can provide content. And if you look at the Exploratorium, not only their own channels, but their social media, you'll see that they really double down on that type of helpful science, but entertaining content. If we can make sure that we do that in the things that we do, whether it's on our own channels or our social media channels, I think we'll find our audience pretty easily.
So speaking of audiences, how can organizations and companies expand audiences right now?
Yeah, so again, it depends on who you're targeting, depends on what you want them, you know, what type of engagement that you want. Social media has just exploded. It's obviously because of the world that we live in right now. We are attached to this screen 24/7, and we bring the screen with us when we're even watching television, maybe because we're catching up on things, or maybe because we're socializing through that. So, you know, social media has really become really important, and we knew it was always, you know, growing and important in our lifestyle, but we've really seen it tremendously grow over the last, I guess, 4 months, you would say, where it is really the engagement channel of choice for most everyone. So I would take a look at your audience there. Who are you attracting there on your social channels? Again, targeting is specifically who you want to talk, and making sure that you're getting your educational, entertaining and informational content on those channels.
Thank you. And we just had a question come in from Jim. How does one find the balance between subtly addressing COVID and marketing content and triggering folks suffering from COVID fatigue who want or need an escape?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've talked about it quite a bit. First of all, safety is most important. So if you look at, there's an enormous amount of research being done by the Global Web Index, and they provide a free report every month on kind of COVID analysis and sentiment. So I encourage you to take a look at that. But what has come through month after month in that COVID research is saying that people do want to be informed. If you're a destination, they want to know what things you're doing to keep them safe if they decide to visit. So safety messaging is very important, and it should be repeated often. So again, you have to find the right balance for you, but 90% in that Global Web Index research indicates that they want that safety information. So don't back away from it. That doesn't mean that you can't make sure that you're providing entertaining and information that is educational, but you want to double down on your safety and health content as well.
Thank you. We just had a question come in from Alice in Fieldman. What tools and technology can you recommend for content and communication that approximate more closely to face-to-face or at least individualized interaction?
Okay, that's a good question. So there's a couple tools that I use that I didn't have time to put in this slide deck, but Answer the Public is a great tool. You can get one free search every single day in your IP address area. That's usually a good place to start to say, what kind of questions are being asked and how can I provide those answers to those questions through my content? Another new tool that just actually came out March of 2020 this year is SparkToro. I am in love with SparkToro for many reasons, but it is a tool that was put together by Rand Fishkin. And in the digital marketing world, Rand Fishkin is just a legend and known in SEO. And he put this tool to help people find their audience and where their audiences are congregating. What are they listening to? What podcasts are they listening to? What blogs are they visiting? And again, there's a free option of that. You get 10 free searches a year. So you can spend a lot of time looking and seeing who's influencing your audience and how can you insert your brand and your content in there.
Awesome, thank you. So a question came in to me directly. How do we leverage our audiences to share the content we're pushing out? And how do we minimize unsubscribe rates?
So I would imagine unsubscribe in email, I'm hoping. Okay. So, you know, if people are unsubscribing at a rate, let's take that question first. It's usually because the list isn't very clean. So I would definitely make sure that your list is clean. That means if they haven't engaged with you in your emails in the last, 3 months, it's time to let them go. They'll probably come back if you give them good enough reasons to come back, but we have to not be afraid of letting go and making sure that we're staying engaged in the audience that wants to hear from us. And I'm sorry, what was the first question? Ask me that one more time.
How do you leverage your audience to help push out your messaging?
Okay, so I talk a lot in the presentations I make about UGC, user-generated content. It is really probably one of the most important trends that has happened in the last 3 years, and it seems to correlate with the enormous mistrust that has been happening since about 2017, 2016, 2017, that there has been much research being done on. And UGC, user-generated content, and getting people to talk about your brand is probably the best way to help you kind of get around that. And you can do that with lots of things. There's a museum, the Getty Museum in California as well, that does these content challenges. So it's an art museum, and they ask their audience to create or recreate a piece of art using materials around the home. And, everything from the girl with the pearl earring to all kinds of things masterpieces are being created and shared on Instagram. And it was just a fun way of getting their audience involved. And then they were able to share that on their Instagram channels. Instagram takeovers are another great way of getting people involved. Again, look at your audience and who's influencing your audience. The more opportunity that they hear brand voices other than your brand, the better. And that's what's going to help get people going. GoPro built their entire platform off of UGC content. I always tell people, look at the best of the best, and GoPro is certainly one of those. How are they encouraging UGC content, and how can you do that as well?
Great, thank you. So another question was submitted to me. With so much happening in the world and so much seriousness and issues that we're seeing, how can we be sensitive to those issues when the work we do might not seem necessary or essential while still pushing our businesses forward?
Yeah. So, again, I use some of the museums in California because they're still closed. They're not open for people to come and visit, but they still find a way to engage with their audience. They understand that their audience is seeking meditation opportunities, just an opportunity to look at their jellyfish exhibit on YouTube as a live cam, and then they play some soft soothing music behind it. That's not their role. They certainly are an aquarium that they want people to visit, but they can't right now. So that they found a way to make sure that they serve their audience. And I think that's what we have to do, is we have to, again, take that empathy, do that Venn diagram and say, how can we serve? If we start off with the question of how we can serve, we'll find that we'll make those connections, even if it's not the way that we normally do business, or that we have done in the past, or that we plan on doing in the future. Right now is a good time to just focus on serving.
Thank you. We have a question that came in from Heather. What are the best metrics that you recommend organizations use to understand if their content marketing is successful?
Yeah, so and that's the thing, you know, content marketing, you can think of content marketing as everything. So you can look at your social metrics as well as your own metrics. The thing about social media is that, you know, they're vanity metrics in a certain extent. If somebody, let's say your competitors started building their brand on social media 3 years before you did, and you just started building it, and you're using that number as a number to judge yourself, you're probably not going to be really happy, you know, because the algorithm has changed, especially in Facebook and Instagram as well. And so your content probably isn't being seen by a majority of the audiences. They've done that because there's a business proposition in that, and they want you to pay that. And you have to look and say, maybe we should, you know, move some of our advertising or our marketing dollars into that platform, because this is important to us, that our content does get seen by our target audience. So, you know, the other thing that you can do is you can look at your Google Analytics and your own channels, your website, and see, where are people spending time? What content are they spending time at? You know, anything that's under a 60% bounce rate as far as what they're reading. That gives you some really good clues on what type of content you should be providing more of. And also, you got to be patient and consistent. And that's probably the hardest part of this whole thing, is that content marketing doesn't happen overnight. It's at least an 18-month type of investment if you're looking at like an owned channel or a hub type of thing. And it takes consistency. It takes time. You got to be committed to it. You'll benefit from it, but you've got to stay committed to it and stay consistent with it.
Thank you. And one final wrap-up question. What do you think is the single best service we can provide to our audiences in this time?
So again, I'm going to use the Global Web Index, and there's an opportunity that you can spread the message of safety and health, and how, you know, you're intersecting in that, the better. It starts with who your particular audience is, what they're grappling with. If I have an audience of first grade parents or, you know, elementary school parents that I'm trying to engage with, I'm going to have a completely different content marketing objective and content marketing strategy than I am going to have with empty nesters at home. So it's really being as specific as possible to what your audience is dealing with. Start with that empathy Venn diagram and really, you know, leverage that as the opportunity for the first step of answering your questions. And then use research. You know, there's great research out there. I mentioned the Global Web Index, but there's also a lot of free reports available to look at and leverage in what your content marketing is.
Well, Jackie, thank you so much for the information and the action steps. I'm now going to turn over to Marianne Crosley to wrap everything up. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody. And Jackie, thank you again. I love that, leading everything with empathy and making sure that's at the core of what you do. Critically important for all of us to remember.